And I would just like to make it clear, if I was still working in the skyscrapers for the rich guys, rather than appearing on your podcast for the good Australian public, I would be a lot fucking richer.
I want to turn to now the rich punts, the billionaires that you talk to every now and then. I saw your conversation on Piers Morgan. Now, for Aussie punters who might not know who Piers Morgan is, he's a rich punt in the UK who used to be on Murdoch's channels or whoever, some other billionaires' channels. And he's a bit more of a conservative culture warrior sort of TV personality. He's like an Andrew Bolt, a Sky News kind of guy for us Australians here. And I noticed something when you're on with that chat, Gary, and he actually had a lot of respect for you. He said this: "You're obviously brilliant at economics. We don't have enough brilliant brains sorting out economic problems in this country. I would bet on you. People like you." He was very complimentary of you pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
You're obviously brilliant at economics, right? We don't have enough brilliant brains sorting out the big problems in this country. Now, will it work? I don't know. But I certainly would bet on him to make a real difference for good.
Well, do you know where those...
And I would bet on you to do that, right? People like you should be getting stuck into issues like the NHS, big smart guys who can work it out.
And I found it interesting. I thought, if you had dreadlocks and hemp pants, mate, Piers Morgan would have destroyed you. Would have done everything he could to just tear you down. But you'd indicated in that podcast, like you did here, you're like, I've got money, I've made money. And I feel like you got a bit of respect. Like, do you find it, if you self-advertise as having a bit more money, you get a bit more respect from that rich punt class?
Yeah, it's funny. When the first ever public article I wrote was in March 2020. It was for a website called Open Democracy. And I barely mentioned it at all, that I was a successful trader, I don't think I mentioned I was a rich guy even once, that I made a lot of money. I just wrote, like, what I wanted to do then was explain how this enormous amount of money being pumped into the economy during COVID would end up being accumulated by the rich and would end up causing an inflation crisis and a cost of living crisis. And this guy who kind of works in PR and knows me, he called me up and he was like, why have you not mentioned that you're like a self-made millionaire? And I was like, well, I don't think that's relevant to my economic argument. And he was like, don't be an idiot. Like, that's what you have to do. So obviously, like, I started using this, like, I'm a self-made millionaire. I would like to make it clear, I'm not just a self-made millionaire. I made my millions specifically by understanding and betting on what would happen in our economy. This is what I am the best in the world at, understanding what is the future of our economy. And I would just like to make it clear, if I was still working in the skyscrapers for the rich guys, rather than appearing on your podcast for the good Australian public, I would be a lot fucking richer.
I've never seen Piers Morgan and other people like him kind of give deference. Like, I've seen him talk to some people on the populist left or something like that, like the Bernie Sanders. He's always lambasting Bernie Sanders because Bernie Sanders is quite rich now.
Yeah.
But there was this other currency that you sort of had, and I wondered, like, do you ever try and convince some rich punts and billionaires of what you've just said? Where, like, what arguments do you use to billionaires to kind of convince them, hey, this is good for everyone, even you? What would you say to convince a billionaire?
Listen, I got to be honest, I don't really speak to the billionaires. At the moment, like, so for people who don't know what we're doing over here on Gary's Economics, and I see the numbers, so I know the channel is very popular in Australia. Gary's Economics is fucking massive here now. It's massive. You've been talking...
Yeah, you're like a couple mil.
Yeah, we've been talking about inequality and wealth taxes for years and years and years. And you know what it's like? You start off like shooting videos in your mate's garden. The truth is, here in the UK now, you cannot have a news show on the economy, on the problem, without the question being asked, why are you not doing wealth taxes? And it's not just me who's achieved that. We do have other great people that we work with. But the truth is, like, a lot of that is because of the popularity of this channel. So from the beginning, my plan was, I was very confident when I started this channel in 2020, and I'm very confident now that the economic situation will get worse. So for that reason, with certainty that the public are going to really, really want to know what's happening on the economy. The truth is, the best paid 10,000 economists in the world are all traders. They're all traders, and they will never appear on the news. They're never going to come on a podcast like this. And in my opinion, the quality of economic analysis on the news is generally not good, because ask yourself, right, if you're a really, really, really good economist, why would you be on the news? Because you could be making millions of dollars, right, working in one of these banks, right? It makes no financial sense, really. So I think there's this massive, massive gap in speaking to the public, and that's what I'm trying to fill. The truth is, the billionaires, they make fortunes out of this. They think they're winning. I don't think it's wise for the billionaires because they're destabilizing societies. But I don't speak to the billionaires because I don't think change comes from the billionaires. There are some great organizations that I work with. There's a group called Patriotic Millionaires, which basically collects millionaires who want to change the tax system and uses their collective voice to try and campaign for it. But listen, I'm not here to speak to billionaires because billionaires are happy with the situation. I'm here to speak to ordinary British people, ordinary Australian people, American people, European people, because these are the guys whose kids can't afford to have a fucking family. So I don't speak to the billionaires, but I speak to the public. Listen, you have a fantastic opportunity right now in Australia. You still have a relatively empowered, relatively wealth-holding middle class that has a little bit of time, has a little bit of space, is not squeezed. I know living standards in Australia at the middle are not what they're like here. Here, literally half the country struggles to feed the kids and turn the heating on in the winter. And that makes it difficult for them to be politically active. Living standards in Australia in the middle are better. And I know there is poverty in Australia as well, but you have this space here where the public has a little bit of free time, a little bit of free energy to devote to protecting the wealth that you have. If you don't do that, this will get worse. Listen, look at the countries in Africa which have enormous amounts of mineral resources and the ordinary people live in desperate poverty. If you think that can't happen in Australia, I'm telling you right now, you are wrong. That can happen.
Well, when you look at the numbers, when you just, like, I've been doing this for a little bit, when I look at the numbers of what we've pissed away and given to these corporations, we are in poverty compared to what we've kind of given away. And I know you said you don't talk to billionaires, but I'd love to give you the opportunity to help me communicate with a billionaire who's probably going to see this. Listen, I got a bit of a reach here in Australia. And I don't know if you've heard of her. A billionaire named Gina Rinehart. Have you heard of her, Gary?
No, tell me her story.
So she's a billionaire-born mining magnate. Her father was a big mining billionaire. She inherited the mines, and she's said a few things. And one of the quotes she's quoted as saying, and then I want to get your help to send a message to her on Instagram. Everyone will share it, and I'm sure she'll see it, right? Because you're rich, you can talk to her. She won't listen to me. I got no money, right? So we'll get to that. But here's what she said to give you a class of who she is. She's a billionaire. She's the richest person in Australia. She says, she said this a few years ago. She said, if you're jealous of those with more money, don't just sit there and complain. Do something to make more money yourself. Spend less time drinking, smoking, socializing, and more time working, right? This is the sort of stuff that we said, which you've addressed there. So I'd like for you to have a think. If you were to communicate with a billionaire like this and send a message, punters on Instagram who are probably watching this right now, they're going to share this. It'll get a few mil, right? She's going to see this, Gina.
What's the name?
Gina is her name. So I'll intro the Instagram reel, and then you've got money. You can talk to her how you think might communicate to her. So here we go. You ready?
Yeah,
okay.
Come on.
Oi, Gina Rinehart. Hey, it's me, Punter Conrad. No, don't keep scrolling. I've got a friend I want you to meet. His name's Gary. Don't worry, he's not poor. He's got money. So, hey, Gary. Gina, meet Gary. Gary, on you go.
All right, Gina. I've heard you're a billionaire. I'm a millionaire. So let's go heart to heart, millionaire to billionaire. Listen, I know life is nice being rich. You get your mansions, you get your luxury apartments, you get everything you need, and you want more. You want more. And you don't want to pay taxes. I understand. I don't want to pay taxes neither. Listen, that wealth that you're accumulating is not coming from nowhere. Look at what's happening to Western governments. The Australian government, Australian middle class, struggling to buy houses, struggling to provide a welfare state. This is the flip side of the wealth you are accumulating. You are getting richer and richer and richer. Living standards are falling and falling and falling. All right, that's fine. That's a bunch of lazy people who spend their money on alcohol and socializing, wasteful things like socializing. Look at history. If you drive living standards down and down and down and down, people will increasingly demand something different politically. Look what happened in Europe in the 20th century when the rich took more and more and more and more and more. Look how it ended up. Look where it went. Listen, I'm not trying to redistribute. I'm not trying to take wealth away from you. I'm trying to stop the redistribution that is already happening. If you keep taking more and more and more and more, living standards will get worse and worse and worse and worse. And you will politically destabilize the country that provides you with your wealth. Stop taking more. Give people a chance. Otherwise, who knows where it's going to go.
Thanks, Gina. Love you. Bye.